Okay, I'm going to come back and I'll cut that, but I'm not going to cut that resistor yet.
Okay.
Just to let you know.
One of the last words I want to hear is them saying "oops."
The last word.
Oh, this is going okay. Oops.
What about the next word? Like, Dean, please don't pull it out. You got a catheter in you.
This is putting on that sense line, Herman, for the charger cable.
It was new?
Yeah.
Now, what happens if you don't have a sense line and you?
No big
This
deal.
one.
Well, there's safety things involved, but if you're charging and the charger is charging, if you can appreciate it, there's a bunch of DC current going through there. Well, there's a split instant that it takes for the charger to, understand that it's not plugged in. So sometimes there's a little bit of an arc as you're pulling the connectors out. You'd have to do it a lot, but if you were to do it like all the time without pressing the stop button, and it's still a good idea, even with this sense line, is that the drivers get in the habit of pushing the stop button instead of just thinking, oh, well, there's safety pins in here, I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. But the sense line just gives you an extra edge.
Well, just a split second, because what's involved is the Euro connectors. I'll be installing some pins in the Euro connector. So what happens is, again, depending on how fast you're able to pull the connectors apart, there's just a split second that it'll disconnect and stop the power before the tips come up. So let's say you don't have it, then you get a little arc, and it'll, over a period of time, you can pick the tips. And if you do it like a lot to where it's just ridiculous, then the tips get really pitted, and then you don't get a good connection, and you can have issues.
Like a small pin.
The
The pin from the main rods.
The connector, like on your battery room, you have. If you looked inside the connectors, like what they call the 175s and the 350s, like for the forklifts. If you took the connector out, you'll see two copper, they're silver plated tips that let the power go through to the other cable, from one cable in through these tips and then into the cable of the battery, and then charges the battery. Well, when you separate those and you don't turn it off, just as you get to the end, there'll be a little arc, and then that arc has got a lot of power, and it might put a little tiny pit in it. And if you do it all the time, then you get pits all over the contactor, and then you don't get a nice smooth connection, because there's pitting, in different places, so it's not fully, seated against one another. And so it's just, you can, if you do it enough times, you can actually overheat it, and, you can have issues with melted connectors and things of that nature.
But you said if it that one time that it interrupts the charger, it could blow a whole module in this thing if it didn't turn off.
It can, but
that's what kind of sold me on that safety line.
It's definitely a possibility. Will it do it every time? No, you could do it.
Well, it's just like our chargers here. Will it blow a fuse every time that they just unplug it? No, but on that 10th time, it might blow the fuse.
Yeah, or the 20th time, you're right. It'll blow the fuse. So the same concept here. Yeah?
Right.
And so this, if you can imagine, and I'll show you when I take that Euro connector apart, they have pins, and they're kind of long. But as you're pulling the connector out, the two pins that are connected to this that'll stop the charger pull out like, just a little bit more. It's not like seconds more. It's like a split second more before the tips actually disconnect.
They're shorter then.
They are shorter, but the positioning of where they are when you disconnect, they disconnect sooner before the tips disconnect. It's not, long. The length, they happen to be short because that's just the style of the type of connector. But the way that they're positioned inside the connector, they just disconnect sooner before the actual contact is disconnected. So what we need to do is we need to go to these two here, JB11 and whatnot. So
Remember, commentaries along the way. Your childhood, when you grew up, and stuff like that.
well, this better not go on YouTube.
It might.
It's going on a cooking
You
video.
guys are not going to expose that on YouTube unless Burch put it on YouTube, make him a little money.
No, I don't make no money.
Get a
Something
million hit.
electronic, so we
You get
don't
a
want
million
to.
hit.
We don't want to categorize
He'll be on
it
the
as a
news
cooking
or
video,
talk show.
right? You don't want anything cooking.
But he got the instructor on it. He's saying it doesn't work out if it blows.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find out what he's going to go to.
So it's J11.
It's these two here.
Okay.
Okay, and then right now, this little resistor, I'll kind of snip it to disconnect it, because right now, I'm not technology and engineer or whatever, but this resistor is kind of there, knowing that if we're going to connect and do a separate disconnect, we got to remove this resistor. So let's say, well, not to jump ahead, but let's say you're having some issues and you may or may not be able to figure out what the problem is, but we feel that it's this connector, and it could be something else that I'm not sure of how all the other components, interface with these. Then you can always take a jumper, even though this is cut, you can take a jumper and just jump these two, and then it'll charge like a normal charger. Once we do all this, so let's say there's an issue and you need to charge, and for whatever reason something can't be figured out, well, so that you could still use this and then maybe make sure they turn the off button off, we could just jump these two together, and then the charger would work.
Can
Normally,
you jump
so
it
to
without
say.
that resistor?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Once the resistor is cut, then it basically, when you cut this resistor, you're now separating these two. That's all that resistor is doing.
Right.
It's got-
That's
so
what-
when
that's
you
like
cut
a
the
fuse,
resistor,
so
once you cut that resistor, you can just jump this, and it's back to
Normal charge.
a normal charger.
because that
Okay.
resistor works as a fuse, so
Kind of, yes.
Yeah,
so when
so-
you're jumping it, yes, we're going to eventually have to figure it out. But this isn't the only thing that's going to protect the thing. This is just a tiny resistor. There's other fuses, inside here that will help protect that if something, more catastrophic would happen, it would blow those fuses.
but it won't damage the board. So if you go in there and jump it with a
If you had to, hopefully you never will. And I'm just bringing this up just as a thought process in the back of your head. So then all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to run this wire. And then this wire will eventually go all the way to the end over there, and I'll kind of put it through, and I'll kind of tape it up to hold it to the cable. So, just to let you know, I've never had to do this in front of a whole bunch of people, so certain procedures I do and stuff, you might go, what the heck, that guy